What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Badgers. Great episode today. Really looking forward to this guest. We're going to continue talking about early signing day and bring in a coach's perspective, talking about one of the key players from this Wisconsin Badgers class. All of that and more on today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers once again. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And we're going to bring in our awesome guest today. We are joined by Tim Racki, head coach, Nazareth Academy, LaGrange, Illinois, JT Taylor's head coach, and just a legendary high school coach, 8 state titles, over 20 years coaching. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your latest state title.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. So I wanted to start with just JT Taylor. We had him on the show as well. I actually want to ask about his game, your thoughts of him as a coach. But the first thing that struck me when I was talking to JT, he is so well-spoken. Has he always been like that? Or is that something that also came out of your program as he matured?
No, he's always been, when he came in, his parents did a heck of a job raising him. He came in, he was mature beyond his years. His very first, because we have summer camp practices. And so when he was a freshman coming in at his first practice, he asked me if he could play in the varsity. And I said, in the summer we evaluate. So I said, sure, kid, come on up. Let's see what you got. And that freshman year, I played him on the JV, and we brought him up for the playoff run and a couple other varsity games to get his feet wet. But it was from day one, it was obvious that not only was he mature beyond his years, but he was always very well-spoken.
And how did that translate from just a leadership standpoint on the team? Did he really become kind of a team leader by the time he was a junior, senior?
Oh, yeah. I mean, before and one of the intangibles that you see outside the stats or the highlights on his tape is practices, where every single practice he would have some sort of words of encouragement to set the tone with the team, and I would just kind of be outside the huddle, before he broke them down for us to begin our practice segments. And I would just kind of be nodding my head most of the time saying, well, and just give him a fist bump, being like, well done. So
that's awesome. That's got to make it easier. I had a coach tell me one time, you can coach effort or you can coach technique, right? And it sounds like with a guy like JT, you never have to coach up the effort or the leadership.
Oh, no. He was always, that cliche coach on the field. And those, I've been blessed to have many of those throughout my career. And JT is one of those 1%ers when it comes to that category.
Where does he stack up for you? Because that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask. In your long career, you coach a ton of great players. You have a ton of great teams. Where does he kind of stack up for you in terms of the better players that you've coached and worked with?
Oh, he's definitely in the 1%er shelf. It's almost I'm so still connected, and that's like asking me what I have 2 boys of my own. That's like asking me which boy do I love more, and I can't. It's
for sure.
Putting him into categories in terms of explosiveness. I mean, Julian Love obviously is the best player I ever coached. He's starting for the Giants right now. I would say he's a hybrid where Julian was maybe had more explosive speed, where JT and more finesse, where JT's more of he's very physical, but he also has that speed as well. I projected him as a safety at the next level early on in his career because we put him everywhere the past 3 years, but he is really that versatile. When you have that versatile of a player at the high school level, it's a game changer, and that was on display this past season.
Yeah, and that's one of the most enjoyable things watching his film. He was, boundary corner, slot corner, special teams, receiver, taking direct snaps. And you mentioned this kind of leads to my next question. You kind of project him as a safety. Is that his best position, do you think, right now? Or would it be his offensive film is incredibly impressive as well?
Yeah, you know what? He's such an athlete, and I guess it's because it's probably by trait, I'm a defensive coordinator, so that's probably why I'm a little biased with pushing the defensive side of the ball. But he's very special. his physicality and his versatility defensively, what you can do with him is just incredible. Now, that said, because you're right, to your point, we used him as a wing. He could have been a tight end for us. He was also a slot. We would also isolate him because then you get the play action game, and he's so physical, and he was not afraid to block. He was great with his blocking technique, which would open up the play action passing game. It just gives you so many options offensively. I just think at that level, at the Division I level, if I had to pick, I would say safety.
What about one of the things I was interested in is if you were coaching against him, how would you coach against him?
Oh man! Well, first that would be I would have a lot of sleepless nights that week trying to game plan against that. I guess you would have to offensively. You really have to bracket him and making sure you just can't leave him single man coverage, whether he's playing inside slot wing or even isolated. I think you definitely have to double team him. And on the attacking him on the defensive side of the ball, which teams have done, you just run away from him or you don't throw his way. So he takes away the field.
Just because nobody is a finished product at 18, nobody's a finished product at 30. I mean, we're always continually growing. Where is his next step up? Like, where is he going to get better? Obviously, bigger, faster, stronger at the college level, but where is he going to grow in the next couple of years?
Oh, that's a great question. And I have a great example. If you look at how, like his junior year, we lost in the quarterfinals last year. And that following week, when you see him, he was still growing because they recruit these kids so young now. He was in the weight room, speed training, not even 3 days after that season ended. And then finally in the spring and the winter, I'm sorry, this is when he popped with Wisconsin. I was telling these recruiters because I saw the development physically. I saw his speed. He was eating better. He just transformed into a beast, even though he was already a beast as a junior. And sure enough, when I was telling these coaches when everything finally opened up, I'm like, and look at Taylor. And sure enough, they were like, oh my God, that's Taylor, because he grew another inch too. When he was from his junior going into his senior year. So that's when, and especially Wisconsin, when they came in, he got on with the head coach at the time right away and got that offer, which was well deserved because I was jumping up and down. He was getting MAC offers and all that, but I knew he was a D1 kid. But those, as you know, those kids in the COVID area and the shutdown really got passed over a lot because of that.
Yeah, one of the interesting things, just continuing on this year for you, I want to, because I think it ties into Justin Taylor. There's a quote about your state title team this year. You guys started 2-4, I believe, correct? It started with the losing record.
Correct, 2-4, right?
First Illinois state team to ever start 2-4 and win a state title. And Justin Taylor had a quote saying, we just kind of took it day by day, brick by brick. Talk to me about kind of the resolve of that team and maybe how JT kind of helped keep it together, along with other players, I'm sure, and coaches, but.
Yeah, because a lot of people, especially they thought that I was taking an old school approach where maybe I was shaming them or yelling at them or working them or running them. And it was the complete opposite. I saw the kids and I've evolved as a coach to where I see these kids, they got enough pressures outside of the program. They got pressures at home. They're trying. We even though we were losing, I saw progress and I saw us getting better. So I did the opposite. I was showing these guys what they were doing well, even in our defeats, and instilling because they were lacking self-confidence collectively. And so when we started focusing on, okay, what do we do well? What do we need to work on? And we just really broke it down to each day. And that's why even with the kids, the celebration at the end of the state game, with the resolve, the maturity, because we're a very good program in Illinois. So these kids were hearing it's rebuilding, Naz is rebuilding, not their year this year. So all these kids are hearing all of that, and to be able to block that out from the leadership of JT and my seniors, because overall we had a young team, and how they treated those young kids on the team, not shaming them, but coaching them up and building them up. It was special because at the end when we won, I think we just all looked at each other with our mouths open like, because we were so day by day. We're like, oh my God, we did it. It was incredible.
No, that's awesome. And your ability as a coach to impact so many lives. When I was talking to JT, he specifically, because we talked about the coaching transition at Wisconsin, right? JT was committed to Coach Christ, stayed on through Jim Leonard being an interim coach, stayed on now that Luke Fickle's here. One of the things he pointed to, he said that we started poorly on our high school team, and some of the leadership there helped me carry through with my Wisconsin commit as well. It was a very similar situation to him. So I thought that was a great nod to just your program and the culture that you've built there.
Yeah, thank you. And I thought, I mean, regardless, and you know this more than I do, Ryan, but I love the Big Ten. I've loved it my whole life because I'm a Midwestern guy, but always had the utmost respect for Wisconsin because regardless of who the head coach is, you know it's a tough program. You get gritty kids. You get kids that want to fight, play the game the right way, play hard. And regardless of who's coaching there, that's kind of what, that's a staple that I think has been very consistent through all these years. And that's what it fits JT to a T.
It's awesome to hear. All right, we're going to take a really quick break, come back with one more segment from Coach, which we are very, very grateful for your time, Coach, as I mentioned at the beginning. Coming back, we're going to talk about, try to put some film up of actually JT, see if Coach can talk about a couple plays, and then talk a little bit more about the Wisconsin connection. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, today's show is brought to you by our friends over at the National Highway Transport Safety Administration. I've talked about this before. Don't make a mistake that's going to haunt you the rest of your life. Have a plan. And especially over the holidays, we're getting together with friends and families. You're hanging out over at a friend's place, putting back maybe a few drinks, and a few becomes too many. As the evening comes to an end, people start to head out. You think about calling for a ride, but nah, you're okay. You can make it home. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? What's the worst that could happen? Well, maybe your insurance goes up. Maybe you lose your license. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe you total your car. Maybe you kill somebody. Everybody knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic, often deadly. However, that doesn't stop people from getting behind the wheel under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. And I want to thank everybody again for tuning in to Locked On Badgers, making this one of your first stops every day. I really do appreciate it. We're going to get Coach back on. Coach, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to put some film up. I'm going to see if you can see it. If not, no worries. But I would love to have you just kind of talk through some of the clips of JT Taylor and kind of what you're doing on the field with him. Let me get that up here. And I kind of shotgunned you with this, so I do appreciate it. Can you see the screen share?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So this is senior clips. And again, I'll just kind of go through it, but whatever you see or whatever you want to talk to.
Well, just his vision and explosion. You see there how well he reads the blocks, how he understands the schemes and where the offensive linemen are supposed to be. His patience as well, along with his vision. And then you see the explosion when he gets to that second, third level.
Yeah, I asked him about his vision. That's unnatural for a guy who's playing all over the place, right? He's really comfortable in between the tackles.
Yeah, he has a high football IQ. That's why, and that's that's what makes coaches look good.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, that's it. And again, he's so disciplined in his routes because he's a student of the game as well. He studies a lot of film during the week, so he was really helpful. I mean, we have an excellent offensive staff at Nazareth, but in terms of putting our kids in the right places. But JT really gets it in terms of spacing, where he has to be, when that ball's going to be out, and then obviously after catching it.
He's not getting caught from behind very often.
No.
That's something he mentioned as well. This is such a fun play because I'm gonna let it run, but I'm gonna tell you what JT said the first time I watched this play with him. So let me go back to the beginning of that. Again, this is just you guys getting him in space.
Right. This is just our cougar, right?
The very first thing he said, look at that blocking. Like, again,
right.
he comes across so humble. But you guys are just throwing pancakes on the edges there, Coach.
Yeah, and that's a credit to my wide receiver coach, Joe Reynolds. He is, I agree. I mean, he's been with me for 15 years, and it's if you don't block, you're not getting the rock, and there are no ifs, ands, or buts, and everybody from Julian Love has bought into that, and so it's kind of a staple in our. It's a known thing where the kid we don't even have to tell the kids the players tell each other, hey, if you don't block, you're not going to be playing. So yeah. And that just shows his power, right? Strength. Just you see all the flashy plays, but and this is what I like is when you see him physical between the tackles or getting on the perimeter at the goal line and having a fight for that for those 2 yards.
In the state title game there as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. See, look at that route discipline. See, he just sticks his foot in the carpet, and it's the little things that even talented wide receivers that you have to work at every day. I mean, look at not a wasted step. That's a perfect route. I mean, just a perfect arrow. I mean,
you can't guard that at the high school level.
No, you can't.
Coach, I gotta say, for a defensive guy, all I'm seeing is offensive clips here. I need some more defensive clips from him.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna get on him for this. But you know what though? The fun thing about the offensive clips, you're seeing how versatile, everything that I've been talking about, you're able to see right here of how versatile he is. Where you could, we used him. He had his own Wildcat that sealed the semifinal victory against Sycamore. We put him at the Wildcat at the end of the game to seal that, and splitting them out, using them in the backfield. It's just. You can do so much with him, and that's on display right now.
Hey, you talked about his film study and his habits and his high character. How does he come back from, I don't want to say failure, but from disappointing games, disappointing plays? How does he respond to
that's because that was the thing that I had to really work on when he was young. Awfully hard on himself. And that's what I find, not just with Justin, but with a lot of players, is that ability to respond to failure. It seems like instead of saying, well, these kids it's not that they're soft. It's just that they need tools to respond to failure because of how things have evolved and how, the expectations they have. So he has been incredibly mature because we talk about it, and I teach the guys in terms of being able to let go of that play, being able to embrace failure. And it's not really failure, it's more information. You're going to fail at any level of football. He's going to fail at Wisconsin. What did you do wrong? How can you get better? Get back in there. There's a lot of reps. And at the end of the day, this is a game. You're not curing cancer. You're playing a football game. So let's not, make it more than what it is.
That's a great mindset. And here we got a clip. He's playing safety.
Yeah, see, with his closing speed there, and then his timing to be able to get that proper hand, the inside hand, to knock that ball out. Again, everything you see, it's all little things. I mean, this is why his highlight is like a clinic for our younger guys, because it's not just you see the explosion, the flash, but when you slow it down and say, look at his break, look at his read steps, look at his back pedal, look at it. It's just look at it. Close it on the ball with proper shoulder, using the inside hand and knock it away. It's a clinic tape for young kids.
How proud is it as a coach just to see, you've had him for 4 years, you've seen the growth and maturity, and now you're seeing the final product on film as he heads off to college? What is that feeling like for you?
Oh, incredible pride. Especially with him, seeing how hard he's always been driven and focused beyond his years. So to finally see, and it wasn't an easy journey, as when I referred to that shutdown, his junior year, he wasn't getting, it wasn't anything but normal for him and a lot of kids in his class. So it was not easy, but he kept his head down. Thank God his dad's great. He was listening to me that we got to be patient. And, sure enough, when that Wisconsin popped and then he had a chance to check out Wisconsin, the campus, and fell in love with it, then it was like, you know what, it was the struggle was worth it, you know?
I love it. Coach, again, thank you so much for your time. We're going to have just take a very quick break, come back, Coach, just a few questions on where sports are today, where college football is, Wisconsin. Very, very appreciative for this interview.
Okay, you froze up there. I mean,
Oh, no. Well, I think we're back. I think we had a bit of a technical quick glitch, but can you hear me? Nope, I think we froze. Coach? Coach, you
yeah,
still there? Okay,
yeah.
yep. We had a quick hiccup, but we were finishing up anyway. But I do want to start by just saying thank you again for your time. It's been incredibly insightful. I want to ask about kind of to wrap up here, because college sports has gone through such a transformation, and that's trickled down into the high school level as well. Are kids more difficult to coach now with the distractions, or is that portion of athletics overblown in your opinion?
What's difficult, I mean, I'm blessed because our culture, you know, and this goes from how JT was taught by watching players like JJ McCarthy, watching players like Julian Love. We've had a ton of other Ivy League, high level Ivy League players and MAC players, FCS players. I've been blessed that they've never been selfish. They've always bought into our culture in terms of football is such a team game for you to succeed in it, the team success. That's what you need to buy into, and that's something that's non-negotiable with me because I'm such a team guy. And I think he bought into. Well, I know he bought into that. The biggest thing that I see with these kids is the offers. You know, if they're not getting offers or if they're trying to do too much because they want to have film and they want to get noticed. And it's an awful, I just see the stress on my kids included, that maybe they're not getting enough looks and maybe they're trying, you know, so we'll have to talk about it. But I think that whole, because they're getting recruited younger and younger. You know, I got a talented freshman and sophomore team now, and one of my freshman guys was upset that he's like, "Yeah, coach, is anybody coming in to see me?" And I was like, "Be patient, man. You're a freshman. They're going to be coming in to watch you work out, but it's not doesn't just happen. Focus, keep your mind where your feet are, which is the biggest thing because I've seen both ends. The kids that are so worried about college football and they're not enjoying the high school experience, and every one of my guys, they all come back from college, from JJ to Julian, and they tell them college is nothing like high school.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they come back jumping up and down saying, "Oh my God, college football is awesome." It's a business, right? It's not easy, any level. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the thing that I'm trying to get through to these kids is, hey, enjoy your high school experience. God has a plan for you. It's going to happen. If you want to play football at college, you're going to play somewhere. But right now, enjoy the high school experience. Way easier said than done.
For sure. And I'm guessing social media has a huge impact on that as
Oh, yeah. Well, oh, exactly. You know, they see their buddies or somebody in the conference getting all these, you know, they're posted
well.
about offers. And that's the other thing, which, you know, some schools offer. And I tell my parents and my kids that say, okay, you know what, see how serious the offer is. Say, okay, coach, if I commit right now, is that offer stand? And then and sure enough, you see guys backpedal. Well, I got to talk to our head guy. Let me get back to you in a couple of days. So really, it's a hollow offer, right?
Mm-hmm. How hard is it? I've always wanted to kind of ask a high school coach that's had multiple players go to that Division I level. How hard is it to kind of safeguard? Because you must come across some of the best and worst of college football recruiting with schools coming in. How hard is it to kind of safeguard your players from what you see as some, I don't want to say just tactics that shouldn't be there?
Well, we've been blessed because overall, because I've been here, and the recruiters that have recruited Nazareth, you build a rapport and you build a relationship with them. So without, you know, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
call people out but certainly I've had a lot more guys that have been straight shooters than guys like I've heard from other coaches where they've gotten, you know, hacked off at a program for misleading them. But I tell these guys and these parents that their job is to win football games. So they're going to tell you what you want to hear. That's their job. And it's got to be up to you to make sure you ask the hard questions that you want answered, and to do your research in terms of who they have on the roster, who else are they recruiting. Like it's not you have to be proactive and not just all of a sudden when the coach either pulls an offer or you get there and it's not what you thought it was. Well, that's part of the business. And how much due diligence did you do, kid, to make sure that you could avoid these pitfalls, because you hear about them. So you just got to be on high alert.
That's a great answer. All right, one final question, Coach. And again, with great guests, we always run out of time before we run out of questions. But you mentioned earlier that you'd evolved as a coach. I'm very curious. Like, where do you think you've grown the most as a coach? Where have you evolved?
Oh, I think I'm much more compassionate, empathetic, because I've seen how the athletes and the football players have evolved. So 2001, that was when we won. I was a head coach and we won, it was my first state title of my career. That guy, that Coach Racki, my hair was on fire. I was very demanding. Well, I love the kids and they love me. They responded, but I was just different back then because it was a different game back then. And I was coaching different players back then. So I'm always in tune to the chemistry of my team and what these kids are going through, just not on the field, but off the field as well. And what buttons I need to push, because I never wanted to be a coach where I said, I just don't have leaders, or, you finger point at your players, or you sit up there and you shame them. I just evolved because I really do care about these kids. So I think I've evolved to where I'm more transparent than I was. Not as much of a hard ass, I guess, is my point. But I still can be a hard ass, because I know if I just gotta, you pick and choose when to do that, and I'm pretty good at knowing the pulse of my team. That's one of my strengths, and how to motivate them.
That's an awesome answer. He is Tim Racki, head coach, Nazareth Academy, Justin Taylor's head coach. Coach, thank you so much for the time, and good luck this upcoming year.
I had a lot of fun, Ryan. This was great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And for everybody tuning in, thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers as always. On Wisconsin, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Let's go.